EA is now on Twitch. Join us Wednesday nights when Alistair reads a bedtime story, and Sunday mornings for a few hours of chill, casual gaming. Plus interviews, special guests, pickup streams, and more. Visit twitch.tv/EA Podcasts and follow us to get notified when we go live. Plus, you can access VODs of past broadcasts. You can support us there as well with monthly subscriptions, or if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can give us $5 a month for free. Visit escapeartists.net/Twitch for all the details.
Escape Pod. Episode 952. Skyscrapers That Twist to the Sun, by Erin Brown.
Hello, and welcome to Escape Pod, your weekly science fiction podcast. I'm your host this week, Tina Connolly, and I am here to bring you Skyscrapers That Twist to the Sun by Erin Brown. This story first appeared in Fantasy magazine. Erin Brown is a Black neurodivergent poet and author of horror, fabulist, and fantasy short fiction. She has been published in Fire magazine, The Deadlands, Fabulist magazine, the Los Suelos Interactive Anthology, Translunar Traveler's Lounge, the anthology It Was All a Dream, an anthology of bad horror tropes done right, and Fantasy Magazine, with upcoming work in other publications and anthologies in 2024. Erin received Truman Capote Literary Trust Scholarship in Creative Writing for Spring 2022 and was shortlisted for Brave New Weird 2022. Her poetry featured in the Our California Poetry Project created by the California Arts Council. You can find her on X/Twitter at BabbleBrown, Blue Sky at babblewalkie.bluesky.social, or her author website, ebrownwrites.com. Your narrator this week is Sheree L. Stewart. Sheree L. Stewart has directed several projects available on Amazon Prime and lends her voice talents as a regular guest narrator for the Nightlight Horror podcast. Sheree has recently acted in NCIS New Orleans and returned to Sender with Rosamund Pike and Nick Nolte. Currently, she's busy working as writer, producer, and narrator of the compelling and unique podcast experience, Good Morning Antioch, a science fiction black comedy, and co-host of TCAD, Theatrical Conjecture and Dissertation, an unfancy entertainment news and movie review show, both available now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Your audio producer this week is Summer Brooks. So get ready to look for the nuts, because it's story time.
Skyscrapers That Twist to the Sun by Erin Brown. Chandra took the small, empty cardboard box and swiveled on her work stool to place it gently on top of her daughter Denisha's head. Her daughter went cross-eyed trying to look at it and started chewing on the corner of her thumb, smiling at the game. Okay. Chandra placed her hands on her knees and leaned forward to look her daughter in the face. What's supposed to be in the box? Denisha tried a little longer to look at the top of her own head, giggled, and took the box down to read the label. 3/4 something nuts. That's right. Denisha replaced the box on her head, but the box is empty. Do we know why the box is empty? Denisha shrugged and gnawed at her thumb. I want to make sure that we know that just because we don't say something with our words doesn't mean we aren't lying. Mama asked you where the 3/4 something nuts were. So, if you know, you need to tell me. I planted them, Denisha said around her thumb. You buried them? Why? I needed those to finish this engine. I didn't bury them. I planted them. I wanted to grow you a whole tree. Chandra pulled the thumb from her daughter's mouth. It's a different kind of nut, sweetie. Now I need to buy some new ones. Are you going to pay for them? They started growing. I'm sure they did, Chandra replied, beginning to turn back around to her work table. You shouldn't tell people they're liars, Denisha admonished. She knew better than to raise her voice to her mother, so she had quickly acquired the skill of giving her softly spoken words a ringing tone of disapproval. All right, show me. Don't step on the grass, Denisha said solemnly. It's very sharp. All right, you show me where to step. They left the garage hand in hand and went around the house to the backyard, which had not seen a lawnmower in a month. It was high, green, and studded with weeds, yellow blossoms, and white puffs wavering gently in the breeze. They looked so soft. Chandra reached down to pluck one for her daughter to blow a wish on, so they could wish for more 3/4-something nuts. She saw her blood pulse bright onto the blossoms, felt the blades deep in her hand long before she felt the pain. 3 minutes later, they were inside the house, doors locked, windows drawn, and Chandra had a bandage on her cleanly sliced palm. Denisha was hiding in her room. She had taken her mother's yelp and cursing personally, and clearly was attempting to lessen her expected punishment by punishing herself first. Chandra sat in the dark, thinking about the glint in the weeds in the noonday sun. The tiny spikes, twisting up, new shoots, pure silver. In a crystallized moment of horror, she thought she had seen them breathe. Chandra typed plant metal into her computer, and the search turned up a ton of metalwork artisan sites selling welded metal roses and gates and painted trellises. What could she search that would make sense? She stood up carefully and slipped over to the window to look at the grass again. It glinted. Dee, come here, quickly. Chandra carried her daughter to the garage. Despite the walkway being paved, she wondered if she'd ever let her precious baby's feet touch the ground again. Her mind remembered the spike slicing into her hand as warm. It had to be the sun. Anything else it could possibly be made her stomach turn. Setting Denisha down on the work stool, Chandra looked all over the empty little cardboard box, then carried it and her daughter back into the house. The next few internet searches for Apex tools turned up wares, distributors, money market information, and more artisans. But the website had a phone number on the bottom. There was a money-back guarantee for items that did not meet the customer's expectations. It made Chandra laugh to read that. She called, but after a few minutes of being shuttled around a bunch of different automatic messages, she hung up. Denisha was playing quietly at her feet, a sure sign she was still not sure how much trouble she was in. Chandra bent down and kissed her on the top of the head. Then the phone rang. Good afternoon. It was the voice of a young man. You called Apex Tool support line. How can we help you? Chandra hadn't thought this far ahead. What could she say? Why did she feel like she was in trouble? Hello? The voice on the line sounded a little frantic now. Are you there? Did you call Apex? Is there a problem? There was no way to miss it. However uncomfortable Chandra was feeling, this person felt worse. Hi, yes, I called. I didn't leave a number, though. Our system logs the numbers of all incoming calls. How can I help you? Who am I speaking with? Chandra waited for the voice to answer. 4 beats. 5. My name's Jack. How can I help you? Chandra nearly hung up. Who is this really? Is there something wrong with one of your tools? And what if there was? Then I want to make it right. I'm so sorry. Can you tell me which product it was? Something in Chandra unclenched a little, and she read the number on the box. The voice sounded relieved, too. Okay, good. So far that's the only batch. Nervous laughter. Thank you so much for calling. What is it? I was working on a project for a scholarship, an eco-friendly building material. I was working over the summer with my uncle, and I took some stuff home to use because I couldn't afford the materials, and he found out and took it all back to the plant and fired me. But some of the stuff worked, and he accidentally mixed it in with the regular stuff. Okay, but what is all this stuff? What did you make? It's metal. Organic metal. It grows like bamboo. Chandra sat back on the couch, looking at her stinging, bandaged palm. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, but I lost it all, so I'm trying to get it back. So it grew? Yeah, in my lawn. Tore my hand up, too. How fast did it grow? Is it spreading? Can you send me a soil sample? How tall did it get? Did you water it? Any fertilizer? I don't know any of that stuff. Just that it shredded my hand. Chandra interrupted him. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Sorry. There was silence between them. Denisha looked up from her dolls, eyes wide in the way they got when they were absorbing everything that was happening around her. Chandra noticed the little gold hoops in her ears. 5 minutes before, she might have been unnerved at the sight of them. Okay, Jack, what do we do next? Half an hour later, Chandra's new friend Jack had hung up, and she was out in the backyard looking at the silver glints in her tall green grass. There was only a patch of it. Sometime in the next week, a special package would arrive, return postage paid, in which Chandra would mail a few planter pots containing every blade of the specimens. When Jack offered to keep her apprised of his progress with the project, she didn't turn him down. After they had warmed to each other, Jack had painted her a picture of living skyscrapers that twisted gently to face the sun, that created organically shaped working and living spaces, kept cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Metal items grown in molds instead of forged, less stress on the environment, less energy burned. Kids were always coming up with such beautiful ideas. Chandra wondered what age caused you to see the other side of it all. At what age did all the fearlessness go away? Denisha watched as Chandra came back into the house, thumb in her mouth. Is it okay? Yeah, babe. Chandra looked at the wall, on the other side of which sat her workshop and the last engine she was working on. Could it get wet? Would it sprout? She'd already used a few of the screws on it. Did metal infect metal? She decided to send it to Jack, too. However miraculous it all was, she wanted it out of her hair. Just no more planting stuff without asking me first, okay? Is it going to make a tree? I don't know, Bunny, but as soon as I find out, I will let you know. Time for your bath. Chandra sent Denisha to go pick out her pajamas, thinking about this kid who called himself Jack, his brilliant invention, his dreams, the miracles that children could create. Denisha had always shown interest in Chandra's repair work and liked to read the labels and sizes on her tools and organize her drawers. Maybe she could grow up to be some sort of organic engineer. Is that what they would call it? She pushed the images of war and torturous capitalist industry to the back of her mind and ran Denisha's bath, choosing to picture sentient ships swimming gracefully among the whales, eating all the trash in the oceans. Denisha opened the bathroom door and stomped in, tossing her PJs onto the counter, her top falling into the sink. She started to pull off her sweater, paused and turned to the door and said, "Thank you, Mr. Doorknob." Chandra paused as well, biting her cuticles as she twisted the shining taps to cease the running of the water.
And we're back, and again that was Skyscrapers That Twist to the Sun by Aaron Brown, narrated by Sheree L. Stewart. About this story, Aaron Brown says, I wanted to create a sci-fi story that examined the choice between hope and fear when confronted with new and exploitable technologies, and featured a black non-traditional family that bonded over a love of engineering. The sweet relationship between the mother and daughter borrows heavily from the one between my sister and my niece. And about this story, I say, I love the slippery twist this story took. I was never quite sure whether the growing metal was going to lead us to a horror story or not, which seems perfectly in keeping with Aaron's intent with the story. The mom is not sure either, and she has lived long enough to have plenty of reasons for being unsure. She knows about war. She sees the metal earrings on her daughter, all the metal in the house, and she has grave doubts. But her daughter, Denisha, and Jack, the kid who's created the metal, they just see the beauty, the imagination, and the chance for wonderful things to grow. Escape Pod is a part of the Escape Artist Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit, and this episode is distributed under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Don't change it, don't sell it, please go forth and share it. how do you share it, you ask? Well, in addition to your social media of choice, consider rating and or reviewing us on podcast listening sites such as Apple or Google. More reviews makes for more discoverability, makes for more Escape Pod for you. Escape Pod relies on the generous donations of listeners exactly like you. And remember that Patreon subscribers have access to exclusive merchandise and can be automatically added to our Discord, where you can chat with other fans as well as our staff members. So, if you enjoyed our story this week, then consider going to escapepod.org or patreon.com/EAPodcasts and casting your vote for more stories that choose to hope for the sentient, trash-eating ships. Our opening and closing music is by Daikaiju at daikaiju.org, and our closing quotation this week is from Amy Tan in the Joy Luck Club, who said, "Then you must teach my daughter this same lesson, how to lose your innocence but not your hope, how to laugh forever." Thanks for listening, and have fun.